Do you want to train 30 days for free with Lebe stock? Then check the first link in the description, sign up and enjoy. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe stock here. In this video, I'm going to give you a masterclass about breathing as it pertains to kettlebell training. There's 3 types of breathing that I want to explain. Let's jump into number 1. Number 1 is natural breathing. What does this mean? If you're just starting out with kettlebell training, this is probably what it looks like in some instances if we, for example, take a clean and press. You clean it, and it's not good in the hand. And surgeons are like, okay, I gotta recount. Oh, it's still not good. Oh, now it's good. Pressing, okay, with the legs or with the hips. So jerking, no, I'm not sure. What am I trying to show you here? I'm trying to articulate your brain communicating with your body. And if that happens, and it happens most of the time when we learn a new exercise, and as it pertains to the ballistics, it's even a little bit harder because then the kettlebell is flying in the air and we cannot control it to a certain degree. Then things just get hard and tough and difficult. And so we need a lot of brain power and RAM. And in that regard, use natural or regular breathing, and that is just listen to your body. Train and breathe accordingly so that you don't collapse. So that means as soon as you start exercising, there's an increased demand for air and oxygen. And that's totally normal. So then you just start breathing through your mouth and you breathe heavily and maybe a little bit hyperventilating. Then you have to put the kettlebell down. That's totally fine. First, you focus on improving your technique. And then once technique is settled, you can focus on breathing. Breathing pattern number 2 is kind of like a creation from my own standpoint, as I have been lifting with kettlebells now for a long period of time, and I combine certain types of breathing. And it's a name that is easy to remember. I call it cocaine breathing. Now, we combine forceful expiration or forceful exhaling with nasal inhaling. Let me just demonstrate what this looks like in a hand-to-hand swing, for example. Let's break it down. Let's focus on the forceful exhale first. And you can try this with me right now if you put your hands on your stomach and your abdominals, and then you try to forcefully exhale. If you do it properly, you should feel some tension in your abdominals as well as up in your rib cage. That's normal, because just like blowing out a candle, you need the abdominal and the intercostal or the rib cage muscles to forcefully exhale. Why are we doing this? We do this because we want to get rid of the trash and we want to clear our throats. That's what I always say. If you are working out intensively, there's a lot of substrates that build up that can have a negative effect on your body if you don't forcefully put out the trash or get the carbon dioxide out when you breathe in and you breathe heavily, and then you always keep your mouth closed or just breathe very shallow, then you can't get rid of the trash. So the forceful exhale is an idea that not only serves as getting out and throwing out the trash, but it also serves as a kind of metronome. As you can see when I do a swing, and that's what I love about the kettlebell as well, is especially in the swing now, you have this rhythm. and in that case, the lumbo-pelvic rhythm. And in order to engage in that rhythm, you can train your body like a metronome so that you understand, okay, where are my limits? And if I go a little bit faster, maybe by breathing goes a little bit faster. That's a fascinating idea that you want to incorporate when you use other exercises like the snatch or the jerk, for example. Another idea that can also incorporate in this forceful expiration is we always build this intra-abdominal pressure and trying to protect our spine. This is a hypothesis, if I'm not mistaken, that is built around the idea of increasing abdominal tension, this intra-abdominal pressure, which may act as an additional safety guard for your spine. That doesn't mean that you always have to walk around bracing your abdominals. It's just this forceful exhale that can add to this idea. Now let's talk about the inhale. And this is where the name cocaine breathing comes from. Cocaine, you get it in and you spit it out. That's the idea. Now, why am I not breathing through my mouth? There's a reason. If I breathe through my nose, I produce a so-called substrate that is called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide dilates the blood vessels, which means it increases blood flow and it lowers blood pressure. And that is a powerful combo, because if we work out regularly, we need more oxygen, more air. So if I have a breathing pattern that can lower the blood pressure because my heart starts pumping, I can lower the blood pressure, I can increase the blood flow, I can widen the blood vessels, then I have to use it. So that's why I engage into nasal breathing. Another aspect is the quality of air is just better when it comes in through the nose. Now you may be used to mouth breathing, and I can guarantee you it's just a matter of habit. Many people, when they start swinging and they start incorporate the breathing pattern, they're not used to it and they always have their mouth open. And this nasal breathing also requires that your fitness is up to par. Your energy, your body's ability to produce energy has to be increased in order to engage in nasal breathing or in cocaine breathing. What often happens with beginners is the following. Let me demonstrate. So they start, even if their technique is fine, and they start incorporating this breathing method, is their body now, after a couple of reps or a couple of sets or time, now requires more oxygen because the oxygen depth builds up, and then they do this. So what we are telling clients is to prioritize the inhale through the nose. And if the oxygen depth gets bigger and this impedes or almost inhibits your ability to breathe in through the nose, then start breathing through the mouth again. Try to catch your breath. Jump back to breathing pattern number 1, which is regular or natural or normal breathing. And then you try to catch the rhythm again. And you will see over time, if you incorporate this type of breathing patterns and your fitness gets better, there comes a time where you will be able to do a workout completely while using 95 or not even 99% of the time this type of cocaine breathing, where you forcefully breathe out and inhale through the nose. Breathing pattern number 3 is what I call recovery breathing. Now there's something that I've learned from Pavel Tsatsouline that I've tried a couple of times, and while I don't try it on the regular, I think sometimes it makes sense, and I think he calls it fractional breathing. And this is where you are gasping and really looking for air. This is where you breathe in through the nose a couple of times, 3 or 4 times, and then you breathe out the air twice, 2 forceful exhales. And what this does is it may give you a second wind. What I use on a regular though is my recovery breathing when I do a long cycle, for example. So let me demonstrate what this looks like. Did you catch it? Now you see or you hear this cocaine type of breathing where I'm using regular types of recovery breathing is when I rack the bells and I'm just trying to catch my breath. And this is where I just, it is a reduced form of the forceful exhalation, and it tends to somewhere dive into natural breathing where I'm just trying to catch my breath. And this is a technique that I use a lot. I also use it in the top fixation where I do more exhales, and it's kind of like the fractional breathing that Pavel is touting, but it doesn't directly incorporate the breathing in through the nose 3 or 4 times. But what I do is just trying to catch my breath in certain exercises, especially in the long cycle or the jerk. And on a final note, what I want to mention is that this type of recovery breathing, or just breathing in general, can help you as a metronome. Now, let me demonstrate the long cycle again, or just the jerk in that regard, because I don't want to confuse it too much. And let me just show you how I use my breathing method to increase or decrease the pace. Now I'm decreasing the pace. So it's 2 breaths, and that is my standard pace as I'm taking 2 breaths in the rack, and then 2 breaths or 2 types of recovery breathing exhales, if you want to call it like this, in the top fixation. Let me demonstrate what this looks like in the snatch. As I'm using a normal pace, my breathing sounds like this. And now I'm picking up the pace. So breathing is very important because when we train and exercise, like I mentioned before, demands for oxygen go up. So if you're able to incorporate a system that improves the way your body handles energy and your body's able to work with oxygen and air, then of course you want to use it. And that's why a lot of pros, my mentor Steve Carter, for example, mentions this a lot, that breathing is incredibly important, that you also want to make it a part of your regular routine to understand breathing and incorporate it in your daily training regime. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. And don't forget, if you want to train for 30 days straight for free with Lebe, check the first link in the description, sign up, and enjoy.